Hi all, good day. So today I'm going to set up a EKS cluster using AWS CLI method. So let's do this method with the help of Amazon console. Let's start logging in, and whatever the steps I'm going to perform, it's already documented on my blog. So you can refer my blog for all the steps and for all the configuration settings, whatever is required to set up this particular EKS cluster using the CLI method. So let's proceed by logging into the AWS console. So I am going to set up first one workstation node from where I will initiate the EKS cluster. I will name this node as workstation node. I'm going to use Amazon Linux because it's pre-configured with AWS CLI. I don't need to configure that. If you want to configure the AWS CLI on your system, whether it's Windows or Linux, you can use this particular document. I have already provided the link in my blog. I will share it in my video as well, video description. You can check that as well. So if you are using Linux, you can use these steps. So let's go ahead. So t2.micro instance type. So key pair, I'm going to use Workstation node. I already have downloaded the .ppk file. Network settings, we can leave as it is. Storage, we don't need more than this. Let's launch the instance. Okay, so successfully initiated the launch of instance. Let's go there. So it's in pending state right now. Let it get completed. It's running state now. Let's see the public IP address of this. Let's copy it so that we can log in with the help of party session. Provide the IP address here. In the credentials, select the ppk file and let's open. Accept here. You can log in as EC2 user. It's by default user. Sudo su to go into the root mode. I am not configuring the root settings here. If you want to do it, there is a file which needs to be modified. That's sshsd. So that file, you need to provide the root permissions and root permission as yes, and then you can configure something called the root password. Okay, so let's proceed next here. So I will go ahead and configure the AWS CLI. So AWS access key ID and secret ID you can configure with the help of an IAM settings. I have already copied those. So I am going to configure this in London region. So I can provide here EU West 2. Default output format we can leave as it is. Next we have to configure the repository. So for configuring the repository we can use this particular document. If you have ever configured the Kubernetes cluster in open forum with the on premises, I hope you have used these steps to configure the repository. So I will copy these steps from here, this repository settings from here. So it's configured. Next we are going to configure the kubelet, kubectl. So we can use this command. So this is particularly agent which will provide the access to the APIs to talk among each other. So it's getting configured. So I'm going to enable and start the kubelet on top of it. Yes, I'm going to start now. Okay, so it is started. Next I'm going to configure the EKS CTL, EKS CLI also you can call. So if you want to configure the EKS CTL, you can use this particular document. So it's a requirement, we have to configure it. Actually, two things are required for configuring the EKS cluster. One is kubectl and the EKS CTL. So you can see the complete documentation here. So for this, right now I'm going to use this particular curl command to configure it. Everything is documented on my blog. You can use it from there, or you can read the documentation, whatever the links I have provided. It will give you the complete information. Now we will check the EKS CTL version. So it says 0.185.0. Next we are going to configure EKS cluster. So for configuring the EKS cluster, we are going to use this particular command. So when you will do this particular setup in your cloud infrastructure or on premises, you have to set up the networking by setting up all the network switches, firewall and everything. But here we are doing this in the default VPC and everything. So let's proceed. Let me explain this command little bit to you. So it says eksctl create cluster name of my cluster. I'm going to create it as 02 so that it will not get conflict to previously created cluster in my system. So I have set up 3 zones here: EU West 2A, EU West 2B, EU West 2C, and I'm going to set up this cluster without node group as of now. Node group I'm going to set up at a later stage separately. So right now you can see the EKS cluster setup is started. So it says control plane to become ready. So you can see here CloudFormation stack, EKS CTL, EKS CLI, cluster 02 cluster. So in the background it is using something called the CloudFormation, which is a feature of AWS itself. It's a service which is used to provision the resources in AWS with the help of scripts. So it uses CloudFormation in the background. So right now what we are doing here is we are performing the master node setup. So once the master node setup is done with all the required permissions and everything, we will proceed with creating the node groups, which is natively known as worker nodes. So let me show you here the CloudFormation. Yeah, so let's go on to the CloudFormation. You will see it's keep calling. Yes, so EKSCTL, if you will see the EKS CLI cluster 02, that's my new cluster which I am forming right now. So you can see the EKS cluster dedicated VPC queue, dedicated IAM queue, created and managed by EKSCTL. So create is in progress as of now. So if anybody asks you what exactly Amazon uses in the background to create the EKS cluster, it's CloudFormation. Okay, so I think it's ready now. So for verification purpose, let's check it. Describe hyphen cluster hyphen name EKS CLI cluster 02. Okay, I have written the spelling as wrong here. It should be EKS. Yeah, it shows all the information. So let me clear this. Okay, so next we are going to provide necessary IAM role and permissions for node group creation. For that, let's run a new command, EKS utils associate IAM ODIC. Yes, so we are going to run this command for providing the necessary IAM role and permissions for node group creations. So I need to give the new cluster name. Okay. Next, I'm going to set up a node group now. So for this node group, I have already set up something called one of the security key pairs here. EKS node group, which will give me the access to these node group worker nodes. So let me just write this command and I'll explain you a little bit of it. So if you will see, I have here eksctl create node group command. So it will create the node group which is natively known as a worker node. So first of all, it is asking me to provide the cluster name, hyphen cluster is equal to cluster name. Then I need to provide the region in which this cluster is going to create. I'm going to provide the name for this node group. Let's name this as a test project. And the node type it's going to create with the t3.medium nodes. So the instance type will be t3.medium. So it is going to create 2 nodes as of now. So minimum number of nodes will be 2. In case the load will go high, the node count will increase to 4 due to auto scaling. So node volume size will be 20. For providing the SSH access, I'm going to use the key pair called EKS node group, which I just showed now a few minutes back. This one. Next, we are going to give the external DNS access, ECR access, and ingress access. So that's all about this command. I'm going to run it so that it will start creating the node groups. Let me show you on the portal. So if we will go back to the portal, you can see the EKS CLI cluster 02 got created. Right now it is creating the node groups, which we will see here. the worker nodes. So in the background, this also uses the cloud formation. So let me refresh this. So you can see the EKS CLI cluster 02 node group test project create in progress, and the previously we created the EKS CLI cluster 02 create complete. So this is how it works in the background. So let's wait to create the node groups. Okay, so looks like the node group creation got completed. You can see here. Let's go ahead and verify it into the AWS console. So you can see the EKS CLI cluster 02. Let's go to the compute section. Now we can see two worker nodes got created. You can see the instance type is T3 medium test project as a node group name. Status as ready. I named this project as test project, if you remember the command. Okay, so let's proceed further. Okay, so let me so the same information you can see here. We have two worker nodes present at the moment. You can check the config. So this is the config of this particular cluster. It's going to be eksctl. So it shows the same information, the cluster name, the EKS CLI cluster 02, the node group as a test project, status is active, creation time, minimum size is 2, maximum size is 4. This maximum size will hit when there is a load on the cluster. Desired capacity as 2, instance type is T3.medium. So we can see 3 by default namespaces. Let me check one more thing. Okay, so here is the catch. You can see whatever the pods it has created for the cluster management, it shows only for the worker nodes. What it means, AWS has capped the management of master node with itself. It is managed via their internal team. We have only worker nodes. So if you are going to manage this cluster, it's only from the worker nodes perspective. Master nodes, upgrades, and everything will be taken care internally. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching. See you soon. If you like my video, please go ahead, subscribe on channel, share with your colleagues so that they can learn. Thank you.